Hello, ladies. Merry Christmas Eve to all of you who celebrate Christmas. Um, Today in our live, we're going to talk about why cardio isn't the best way, maybe, to lose weight, and maybe some options and alternatives that you might be able to do instead or along with lesser amounts of cardio. So, here we go. Let me make sure all my settings are ready. Okay. All right. So here we go. So I think that as a society, when people decide they want to get healthier, they want to lose weight, one of the first things that they do is say, okay, I'm going to start running. Okay. We're going to go run. And then, well, that's the first thing that people do. The second thing people do is complain about how much they hate running. So, what if I told you that going for long runs might not be your best bet? Or if I told you that there's an easier way that you can lose weight? Or that really you don't need to run at all unless you want to. I know for some people, running and longer term cardio, like running long distances or biking and things like that, are sort of mental health. You have mental health reasons, like it just helps you clear your head, things like that. That's awesome, and that is not what I'm talking about here. So what I'm talking about here are any of you out there that are wanting to lose weight or lose fat specifically and are doing lots of cardio in an attempt to do that. That's who I'm talking to today. So I want to start with why doing a whole bunch of cardio maybe isn't the best way to lose weight, and then we'll go into some other options and alternatives. So the first thing is that we all know that we need a calorie deficit to lose weight. So we can create a calorie deficit from increasing our movement, from in order to burn more calories, or eating less, or a combination of the two of those, which generally is ideal. So if we know that increasing our movement will help us burn more calories and then create a calorie deficit, why is it that lots of cardio may not be the way to go when you want to lose weight? So here's what's going to happen. You start cardio, and especially if it's cardio only, if all you're doing is cardio, you will likely lose weight initially if you're burning more calories than what you're eating. But what happens is that over time, and for some people it might be a shorter period of time, for others it might be a little longer, you're going to realize that you hit this plateau and you stop losing weight. You might be increasing the miles on your run or on your bike or elliptical, whatever you choose to do. You're increasing these things, but you feel like nothing is happening. The scale isn't moving, your measurements aren't changing, your clothes aren't fitting any differently. People get frustrated and they say, oh, there's something wrong with me, or I'm broken, or whatever. This just isn't working. And then they give up. Okay. So number one, that's the worst thing we can do, is to give up. But why is that even happening anyway? So here's what happens when we do lots of cardio. Our body will adapt to how much cardio it is that we're doing. So this is called metabolic adaptation. And I've talked about metabolic adaptation some other times before too, particularly for people who eat very, very, very low calories. Our metabolisms will adapt to those low calories, and we have to spend weeks, sometimes months, increasing calories back up again to get our metabolism going again so that we can then lose weight. Well, the same thing happens when we do a lot of cardio. So the metabolism adapts to what we're doing. So your body basically has gotten efficient at storing the calories and better at burning fewer calories to handle your output of cardio. So that's just a natural thing that our body does. So when we don't do something like adding in strength training, for example, in order to maintain or increase our muscle, then cardio eventually erodes our muscle. So essentially, your body is recognizing that our day-to-day activity doesn't need to be strong. It needs endurance. So we don't need muscle. So for energy, our body's using up our muscle. And less muscle means that you have a much slower metabolism. So slower metabolism means we're not burning as many calories. So I know the first thing people always say to me is, well, when I'm doing cardio, I have to use my muscles. Like when I'm running, I have to use my leg muscles or bike or whatever. So That's true. That's super true. But cardio is using our muscle in a different way. Like I kind of alluded to it just a second ago. Cardio requires our muscles to have endurance and not a lot of strength. So when you're burning calories while actually doing the exercise in cardio, but since our bodies are super smart and they adapt to whatever it is that we do often, you're conditioning your body to get better at that endurance. So that means you're getting your body, it is getting more efficient at not using up calories so that you can go for longer and longer periods of time without running out of energy. Okay, so think about that for a minute. Think about marathon runners, right? So they have to be able to store that energy for that long-term 26-mile run. So as someone trains for a marathon, you're conditioning your body to get better and better and better at storing those calories for long-term use. Okay. So if you are getting confused or frustrated about what you should do instead, basically, I'm just tell you it's strength training. So what is strength training? What counts as strength training? So weightlifting, obviously, if you're lifting weights, you're strength training. You can use resistance bands. You can do something like Pilates and really any body weight exercises. You don't need a ton of equipment for strength training. You can absolutely just use body weight and even things that you have at home. Particularly during our time last spring when we were locked down during quarantine, we got really creative with some of our strength training tools because weights and dumbbells and things were nowhere to be found. Everybody sold out of those in a hurry. So you can do things like even holding cans of vegetables, water bottles, gallons of water, putting books in a backpack, right? So there's lots of ways you can do strength training without necessarily investing in gym equipment per se. So there are so many options for strength training that it's not terribly difficult to find something that you would enjoy doing. So kind of be open-minded about it and be willing to try a few different things. So here's the deal with that. So there was this one research paper in particular. They analyzed 18 different studies that had been done on the topic of cardio and metabolic adaptation and strength training and whatnot. And so of all of these 18 papers, there were 662 participants involved, so a fairly large sample size. And the purpose of it was just to determine what type of exercise is the most impacts our metabolism. So what this study found was that when you're strength training, it significantly increased metabolism. So if our metabolism is increased, we're burning more calories even at rest, at all times. Cardio combined with strength training did not make much of a difference over the strength training only group. So if you're going to say work out for an hour, and some people might say, I'm going to do 40 minutes of strength training and 20 minutes of cardio. That's fine. Cardio, there are other incredible benefits to cardio besides burning calories and fat loss. But if your sole purpose for doing it is for fat loss, you're better off spending those 60 minutes entirely doing strength training versus each one. You'll get a little more bang for your buck. There was no benefit in the study to those who added cardio with their strength training. And then the study found that strength training alone was the absolute most effective at increasing metabolism. And then finally, that cardio alone was not effective at all at increasing our metabolism. So here's my disclaimer, and I kind of mentioned it a second ago. If I am not at all suggesting that you should not do cardio. Don't go and say, hey, this lady on Facebook said I don't need to do cardio, yay. I did not say that. But the biggest benefit of cardio exercise is in its name. It's your cardiovascular system, right? It's improving your cardiovascular system, your heart. So with that said, overall fat loss is also incredibly beneficial to your heart. So when you're choosing your exercises and choosing how to spend your time in your workouts, really think careful about what exactly your goal is. If the goal is solely for fat loss, your best bet is to use whatever time you have in strength training. If your goal is improving your cardiovascular system, cardio is what you want, but don't neglect strength training. If your goal is just mental health and you just love to go for long runs, it just clears your mind, go for long runs. I'm absolutely not saying not to do that, but again, if it's your entire purpose is fat loss and you want to know how to best use your time to increase fat loss, strength training is where you want to be. So, and I want to also kind of end with this disclaimer that lifting weights does not make you bulky. It is a complete myth. Most women do not have the appropriate hormone makeup to bulk up like a guy. We don't have that much testosterone. And even if we did, it would take you years of incredibly hard work to do that. You're not just going to wake up one day and suddenly have giant muscles and say, oh, what happened to me? So we really need to get past this myth that lifting makes you bulky. The awesome thing about lifting is that as you go, you will start noticing changes in your body, and you might realize, maybe I don't quite want my arms defined that much. Then you just do fewer arm exercises, right? You literally are sculpting your body however you want it to look when strength training, and it's very targeted with specific muscle groups too. So that's absolutely something that you can do should you start feeling that way. So to wrap up, whatever I'm trying to say, I don't know what I'm trying to say. To end, there is most of the information, the source where I got most of the information on today's live. It's from a book called The Resistance Training Revolution by Salo De Stefano from Mind Pump Media, and I have it right here. I forgot to bring it. It is right here. It is a fairly easy read, great information. Sal is incredibly knowledgeable. And if you listen to the Mind Pump podcast, you will hear him. He is a huge, a big science guy, and he has been a personal trainer for like over 20 years. And his sort of niche is analyzing studies. That's his jam. He does that kind of stuff all the time. So that's a great, great book if you want more information on that topic. So that's about it. Please let me know what questions or thoughts you have. Leave anything you're thinking. Go ahead down in the comments, and I will get back to you. Or like I always say, depending on the question, if it's a more in-depth one, I will be happy to do a live on that topic later on. So the more ideas y'all can give me about what you would like to hear or see in Friday Lives, the better. I want to make sure that I am doing what you want. So have a fantastic weekend. Again, Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates, and I hope you have a nice weekend. Bye.